It's
Um,
me recording it. I wanna talk to you about my ideas, but please continue.
okay. And so it was really, I was really worried that they were going to do mass deportations when Donald Trump got elected. And then I sort of convinced myself that that couldn't happen without a massive infusion of federal money and resources, which is exactly what's happening now. So my justification for the immigration in this last presidential race is I didn't actually believe he was going to hire 10,000 more federal troops, or agents, sorry, and do the deportations. But anyway, the point is they found out that I was a Trump supporter back then, and they sort of ganged up on me, and I got fired, and uh, and so that sort of solidified in me that, oh, Trump must be right because everybody hates me for it, type of mentality, you
Mm,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
I
So
mhm.
it was essentially an act of rebellion, and I've told people that over and over again. I said the reason I voted for him in 2015 is because he put the middle finger up to the establishment after what they did for Bernie. Now I'll tell people I campaigned for Bernie in 2015. I worked on his campaign. I went door to door. They even posted a photo of me doing it with a sprained ankle. Because I'm not a sprained ankle, but I rolled my ankle and I was out on crutches going door to door, getting people to go out and vote for Bernie. So I was a very, very staunch Bernie supporter because I loved his ideas, and I still do. And the sort of fire has died with Bernie Sanders, but still, I was. And then when they did that, what they did with the super delegates back in 2015, I got pissed off and I put my middle finger up to the whole Democratic Party. And I said, you guys are not getting my vote. And I'm going to be anti-Democratic Party from here on out. And I pretty much was for the next 10 years. And now it's starting that fervor and that fire is starting to die out because and the truth is starting to come out, and people are like, oh well, it's too late now, we'll never forgive you. Well, first of all, I'm not asking for forgiveness. People change over time, and my message to the Democrats is if you guys don't get your stuff together, and I might be a Democrat in the future, and start trying to trying to uh, you know through attrition or whatever, try to get the Republicans back in, or at least the independents who voted for Donald Trump, you're not going to win the next election. And I've had people argue with me and say, oh, yes, we will. We have the numbers. But that's the wrong mentality to have to win an election. You want to get the most amount of people on your side, you
Yes.
know. So I'm not afraid of what people are going to think about my opinions. I mean, does it make me a little anxious? Yes, of course, because I wouldn't be human if I didn't feel anxiety and nervousness. But we only have one life to live, and I'm not gonna live my life in, at least knowingly, in fear.
No, and honestly, I think that we covered this in previous conversations. I think that's kind of was the most fascinating part that we should be talking about, right? The changes. People change over the time. And so if
Yes,
we understand why some decisions were made in the past, we can learn from them and just kind of move to the future. One thing that, you and I have polarized views on politics, but for forever, right? We've always been able to just talk about it. It doesn't we can just
absolutely.
talk about it. And then granted, now even Trump has also managed to even as of late, it was starting to become difficult, right, to have these conversations about politics. And
Absolutely.
so, on a long term relationship, so I can only imagine the damage that has been done to families and things like that, right? I mean, you have stories to tell about those things.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the one thing the lesson that I learned is no, you should not be going with the win and trying to say, yeah, FAFO, and I told you so. That's not gonna get us closer back to what what is gonna be better for us, right? The change for the future. That is definitely not the right way to go about it. The right way to go about it is come back to the table, have a discussion, and just hear from one another, because I do think that there was a lot of people that felt like you. They were upset, uh, and they wanted to be, rebellious, I guess, about it. And I was rebellious myself, right? I didn't vote that one time in 2016. I was just so upset. Um, you know,
Absolutely.
in 2020, I voted. And I was happy with the call. I was happy with the decision I made in 2024. I think we could have done better, but I really, really wanted it to be more involved, and I should have been more involved with the community, to just shed a little bit of light. But I feel like we were still very polarized. Like if we couldn't just talk about the issues where it makes common sense, right? We have shared
Right.
experiences. Like I have experiences. I'm an immigrant. I'm a naturalized citizen. I went through the process. I know what it means. So for me,
Yes.
I know it's upsetting when I hear people saying, "But if you do it the right way," but they have no idea what the right way is, right?
Yeah.
They have no
Yeah.
clue how the whole right way does, or like I've heard a conversation from other people saying like, "Well, the citizens are only the ones that they were born here." And then 30 minutes into the conversation, you find out that they have literally very little knowledge about the history of the United States, which I had to learn to become a citizen, right? Like I take more
Right.
time, I spend more time learning about it than a lot of people that I met. And it's, again, I just kind of think if we were spending a little more time educating each other I think it would be very useful for everybody.
Absolutely. No, and that's the thing is being able to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think most, I don't want to say most, but a lot of Trump supporters out there, and I know because I was one for almost 10 years, and I wouldn't identify myself as a Trump supporter anymore. I think he's lost me. I think he's lost me, and I don't think he'll ever get me back. But the thing is, with a lot of Trump supporters, it's like, yeah, I think it was sort of a symbolic expression of rebellion. For one, I know at least it was for me, putting the middle finger up or whatever to the establishment. And we
Right.
really thought Trump was going to be the one to expose the corruption. And now, while I don't disagree with everything that he's doing, like some folks, I don't think that he's really that much part of the solution. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's really tough to say, honestly, because I just wanted to keep my arms crossed, and I wanted to say, no, this is my hill, and I'm going to die on it, and I'm going to stand with MAGA, and I'm going to be a conservative in the Republic, excuse me, but it's not conservative to hire 10,000 federal agents and do a massive deportation operation. That's not conservatism. That's big government.
Yeah.
So I thought conservatives were against big government. And so now if I'm questioning it, all of a sudden, what am I? And, you get attacked by the right, and then you'll get attacked by the left for once voting for Trump. I'm sorry, and maybe that's what our first conversation should be directed towards is, sending a message out to those folks that were once, solid Trump supporters, but now they've sort of taken a step back. Maybe they don't want to admit it. Maybe they're the new silent majority that the Democrats need to go back and pull. But we still see red in our eyes because we're still so angry at Trump for being every name that people has called him over the years and his supporters. But so maybe that would be a good, maybe that's be a good direction for a first conversation. I don't know.
Well, I think so, but for everybody who's listening, I think that's what we want to do. Is what we want to do is we want to create a safe space for you to come over here, share your ideas, and not be judged for it, because not everything is right, right? I mean, we can fact check the things and learn along the way, and just really learn what we're talking about, and not be crucified. It's really interesting what you said, because I think that's the space that we're really missing, is the fact that you know you're deciding that you are no longer want to be supporting this political party, or Trump in particular, right? Not necessarily a conservative, but you feel like there's nowhere you can come back to, right? The
Exactly,
right, as I
100%.
said, and then the Democrats, or at least the left, which for any Democrat that is listening right now, I'm trying to tell you guys, we're doing this wrong because we're not allowing you to come back to the conversation. You sit down to the table and say, "Hey, let's talk." Nice to see you. I want to share with you how I felt, and I feel appreciated that you feel in the way I have been feeling for a long time. You know, you're seeing you're feeling now in a different way, and this is how I've been feeling for a few years. But this is not an "I told you so." This is a I'm so glad we're back to talking again, and that's the space that we should be creating.
And that's going to be a hard message for people to swallow, hard pill for people to swallow, because I mean, when people, doom scrollers on TikTok and stuff like that, the comment warriors, they'll all mention stuff like, you know, they'll see a video of a family being ripped apart from ICE, and I don't think anybody who looks at that and doesn't get emotional, doesn't get sad, as is being fair, obviously. But and so, but then they'll directly say, you know what, you voted for Donald Trump. This is your fault. And obviously, there's some truth to that. Obviously, I mean, if you support somebody and you voted for them, and you are part of, their circle in a sense, although very far removed. But then again, it's not my fault directly that these things are happening, and it's not like somehow I'm disconnected from having empathy for these individuals. It's possible to have, even though my views on immigration have drastically reformed just over the last very short period of time. Um, it's not like it's not, you know, I don't know. It's not like I could have predicted exactly what was going to happen, and I don't think anybody on the other side, or maybe very few, could have predicted exactly what was going to happen. And even if they could, we don't really believe in prophets anymore. So we make decisions based on what we think is going to happen, or our close advisors, or whatever, and then we go with it. So you made a wrong decision. Okay, fine. Let's focus on today, not on the past.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say that from my side of things, that I listen to the news, and I can't tell you that I am a political warrior because I'm not. But I do listen to a lot of news, and I try to be as neutral as possible. But I'm definitely, a Democrat. I would say I'm probably on the conservative Democrat side. Um, I would say that I knew these things were happening only because of not only how I understood the politics, right, in personal experience, but also because I come from a different country where, unfortunately, corruption gets built to
Right.
this level. So for me, the disappointment is greater because I just feel like, my goodness, instead of coming to the future, which is the United States, I feel like I'm traveling from the future, which is nowhere
Yeah.
I want to be. I really, uh, for me, things like due process. This are the things that make this country so much different than anywhere else and so much better, right? The fact that you get pulled over, for a ticket, and you have a proud officer, with his badge and his name, and he tells you what he's doing. And I have to say, I mean, personally, I've gotten my speeding tickets or my minor violations, and when I did, I feel like I had to respect the law, but it was a pleasure to respect the law because where I come from, we just didn't have that, and so again, these are the things that disappoint me. So from my side, I could see them. I could see these things building up, but also I think we were just so busy trying to own the lives, so busy
Yeah.
just trying to just like get at each other's throat that neither side really could just say, you know what? I think you're right, dude. I think we should think about this for a little bit more, right? It was just not happening.
Right.
So
And when people are hurt, they lash out, and we've been hurt as a country for the last so many numbers of years, and and people could blame who they want for that. That's, fine, they can do that, but lashing out hasn't gotten us anywhere because we're still just as divided as we were 10 years ago, if not more, probably more now. We're absolutely at each other's throats. And people were talking about civil war 5 or 6 years ago, and it honestly feels like if we don't get any better, we could go down that way. I mean, look at the number of acts of political violence that have taken place in the name of anti this, anti that, and it's kind of scary, honestly. I had some apprehensions about moving back to California because of basically I've been living in Florida for the last 5 years, basically freely able to, not maybe 100% freely, but able to talk about Trump and conservatism in public. Here, no, still, no, I would never do that in like a public square where people are free to throw rocks at me and stuff like that. I would still do it. I would just have to feel the temperature of the place. Obviously, if I'm in a room full of people with knives and guns, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, man, Trump, man, that was a great vote. Even though I don't think that anymore.
Hmm. And do you still feel like that?
No, I don't. In fact, I've become so this is I have undergone probably the greatest transformation of my life in the last 2 weeks, and I don't know exactly why. I've started to change some of my views on religion. I've started to change my view on politics. I even, and I think it's been building up for months now because I think the whole, like I said, the whole defensive posture, being tensed up and defending myself against the attacks from the left and all that stuff, or at least perceived the attack. It started to, you get tired of being on the defensive so much, and eventually it fades off, and the truth is revealed, and you could either continue to be in a defensive posture, and that's very unhealthy, or you could just face the reality. I mean, I can't even look at Fox News. I do watch them every now and then just because I like to stay informed on the different, CNN on all the different sides. But
Right.
they totally ignored the Epstein uh, saga. I mean, the Epstein files. They're totally ignoring it, and I'm just like, what? Now, you guys accuse the left-leaning media of ignoring certain things that you were in disagreement with, and now you're doing the same thing, but the other way around. So I don't think so. And now that the truth is right in front of me, I can't ignore it. And honestly, it feels liberating in one sense, but I also feel like you mentioned earlier, like there's no place for me to go with that. And that's scary. That's scary. So again, Democrats, I mean, if you're going to have, if there are other people out there like myself, and I know there are, then you got to capture those people. I mean, run a good candidate. Please don't run please run a good candidate with good ideas. Like Andrew Yang. I really loved Andrew Yang, and I would hope he would run again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take that to a different podcast to talk about him. I don't recall much about him,
Yeah.
but you're right. I honestly, I think it's just a matter of let's not sound petty, guys. Let's get back to the issues at hand.
Yes.
I think you lost the conversation. Most Democrats that I know, we like common sense conversation. We don't
Yeah.
really like dwelling on petty situations. And when
Yeah.
we sound petty, we lose each other.
Yep.
We just lose each other. But if we
Yep.
have a concise conversation about what we're talking about, and then we can be welcoming to have other conversations, we are definitely going to be making a change to it. So
Absolutely.
that's how I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
absolutely. And
So yeah.
yeah,
Anyways, I think we should leave this one as a short one. I just wanted to welcome everybody for listening. If you want to make some comments, or we would absolutely love to have you here if you want to share some experiences. We're going to be talking about political experience, personal experience with what we have seen with either side, and just create a safe space where we can talk and respect each other, respect our views, and um, go back to normality. I think that's kind of the point. What do you
right.
think?
I think, yeah, and I would just make the disclaimer that, just because I'm not a quote unquote Trump supporter, although I never labeled myself as a Trump supporter, even though I voted for him. I would just put the following disclaimer: is that I'm not anti-America or anti-government, or I'm not even against the office of the president. To me, those institutions, the ideas of America and everything like that are still very active in my mind. I mean, I love this country. Do I put it above everything else? I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question to answer. But I certainly don't put Trump there. But so I don't want people they're free to assume whatever they want, but I don't think it would be a fair assumption to say, oh, he's a turncoat. He's backing out on Trump. Therefore, he sold himself over to it. No, no. It's just as a man, as a human being, I want to make the best decisions that I possibly can. And I'm not saying that I'm not really. I'm not against the country. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So I just want to make that disclaimer, basically. You know,
Well, I think that thank you so much for saying that, but I do probably want to be more blunt about this. If the conversation is going to be around trying to say the FAFO, then you're missing it. There's plenty of other podcasts to go and do that. We're not it. This is not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is talking about sharing experiences and learning how to get get back to having decent conversations. So some topics are going to be things that some people are not going to like. Some other ones are going to be things that other people are going to like. But it doesn't, we don't have to get at each other's throats. Enough. There's plenty of those ones around. So if you're open to having a conversation and listen to somebody else with a different point of view, and uh, again, this is not for fanatics.
absolutely, absolutely, awesome.
Okay.